In this video, we'll see ways to add and subtract with integers. So one of the things we'll look at is how we can change subtraction problems to addition problems, because sometimes it's easier to think about integers with addition. So have you noticed that 6 minus 2, 6 plus negative 2, they get us the same result. They get us 4. And then 9 minus negative 5 and 9 plus 5, those both get us the same result of 14. Do you notice that when you subtract 2, it's the same as adding negative 2? And when you subtract a negative 5, it's the same as adding a positive 5. Subtracting is the same thing as adding the opposite number. So I can look at these subtraction problems and change them to addition problems. Negative 5 minus 4, well, I could change that to negative 5 plus a negative 4. I'm going to add the opposite of positive 4. And then in 10 minus negative 4, we know that's 14. But I'm going to get the same result if I keep that 10 the same. And now I want to add the opposite of negative 4, which is positive 4. So here are some I want you to try on your own. I want you to rewrite each of these problems as addition problems. You don't have to write the answer. I just want you to write them as addition problems. 5 minus positive 11 is the same as 5 plus negative 11. Negative 4 minus positive 3 is the same thing as negative 4 plus negative 3. 7 minus negative 2. I want to add the opposite. That's the same thing as 7 plus a positive 2. And negative 1 minus a negative 8 will be the same thing as negative 1 plus a positive 8. Well, now we've got more than two numbers that we're adding or subtracting together. And Mr. Romero and Ms. Nelson solved these two problems in two different ways. You can see Mr. Romero sort of added up the two numbers that were together that were on the left and the two numbers on the right and then subtracted them. And Ms. Nelson, she did everything from left to right. She first added the 12, then she subtracted the negative 7, then she added the 15. We got two different answers. Who do you think is correct? Well, Miss Nelson is right. Of course. Poor Mr. Romero. He's wrong. So let's look at what Miss Nelson did. She added or subtracted from left to right, and you notice her work was so neat and organized. She first took negative 14 plus 12, and she got negative 2, and then she rewrote the rest of the problem. This is really important, especially when the problems get more complex and we start dealing with different operations in them. Negative 2 minus negative 7. That's going to give us a 5. And then rewrite the rest of the problem. And 5 plus 5, that gives us the final answer of 20. But there's another way we can solve this problem. I can change that subtraction in the middle to addition. And then if I change everything to addition that's in the problem, I could add it in whatever order I want to. So I don't have to go left to right if I change everything to addition. So I've got negative 14 plus 12. No change there. But minus a negative 7 is the same thing as adding a positive 7. And then plus 15. So now what could I do? Well, I could take these first two numbers, negative 14 plus 12, that's negative 2. But then I could take these last two numbers, 7 plus 15, that's 22. And do you notice when I add them both together, I get the same answer, 20. So we could either go left to right or change everything to addition and add it in whatever order you want. All right, so here are some for you to practice on your own. Let's look at the first one. I'm going to do this one from left to right. So negative 5 plus negative 6. That gives me negative 11. And now I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem. Again, this is super helpful when the problems are long like this and when we start getting different operations in them, which we will soon. Negative 11 minus 10. Negative 21 minus negative 8. Again, I'm showing you exactly what I'm doing here. I'm trying to be really organized with my work so you can follow my thinking. And negative 21 minus a negative 8, That's going to give me negative 13. This next one, I'm going to change everything to addition so you can see how that works. 3 minus 5 is the same thing as 3 plus negative 5. Don't have to change here because I'm adding negative 9. Don't have to change here because I'm adding 4. Subtracting negative 10 is the same thing as adding a positive 10. And then one thing you can do now that everything's addition is you could add in any order you want. So sometimes students like to add up like all the negatives together. So negative 5 plus negative 9, that's negative 14. And then you could add up all the positives. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 plus 10, that's 17. So negative 14 plus 17, that gives me my answer of positive 3. And my last one, I'm going to rewrite this one all as addition. Negative 43 minus positive 6 is the same thing as adding a negative 6. Plus 15 stays the same. Subtracting negative 12 is the same thing as adding positive 12. Plus 17 plus negative 8. Again, I'm going to do this where I combine all of my negatives together, and I'm going to combine all of my positives together. So negative 43 plus negative 6, that's negative 49. And then negative 49 plus negative 8, that's going to give me negative 57. Now 15 plus 12 gives me 27. And then 27 plus 17, that gives me 44. Negative 57 plus 44, that's going to give me a negative 13. And that's my final answer. And that's how we add and subtract with integers.